You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
You're listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. Today, I talk with Colleen. Colleen is a school counselor and impact member. I feel like I know Colleen well because she's always on our monthly impact calls, so I know her face and I get to chat with her every month and to learn about what she's up to at her school site. Colleen is great. She was not planning on being a counselor. She was actually a nurse first. And she shares so many great strategies when it comes to individual counseling. That is her strength and her strong point, from helping students create a coping skills toolbox when it comes to things like anxiety, and to providing her own self-care. She even likes to use the term, I overdose on self-care. And she talks a little more about how it's so important to make sure that we're filling our own cup before helping others. And she even has a fun little trick at the end for doing some self-care that's also productive and helpful for students. So I think you're going to love this episode with Colleen. Like I said, she talks about individual counseling, and just a reminder that I am doing a training on individual counseling today and tomorrow, and I would love to see you there. So go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/individual to save your seat. Okay, let's dive into this episode with Colleen. Let's be real. Individual counseling can be overwhelming. Groups always seemed fun and easy, but one-on-one sessions made me feel incompetent and doubt my effectiveness. It was hard to find individual materials, and with so many different kiddos to see, I didn't have time to create activities to cover all of their unique needs. I ended up pulling out Jenga for the zillionth time, or just chatting while doing a puzzle, which left me with nothing to show parents and teachers. Oh, and don't even get me started on those K2 kiddos. I was always at a loss with what to do. Can you relate? Even if you've been at your school for years, there's still likely times when you're unsure what to do in individual counseling sessions. That's why learning how to lead engaging and data-driven individual sessions is vital no matter where you are in your counseling journey. Not only will the kids love the hands-on activities, but you'll feel confident and prepared knowing that your lessons are effective. That's why I'm offering a free live training on how to use individual counseling curriculum to engage students and effectively track data. I think you're going to find this so helpful. And for attending, all attendees get a free individual curriculum as well as a PD certificate of attendance. Whatever the reason is that you're looking into this, I get it. If you're ready to enhance your individual counseling sessions and start collecting data so you can feel confident and valued, I want to help you get there faster with this simple training. The best part? It's absolutely free. Go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/individual to save your seat. See you there. Hey, Colleen, how are you today?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Been doing a lot of guest podcast episodes today, and it's so fun. I love hearing from different counselors because I feel like I send everyone the same questions, more or less, but everyone's experience is just so different. So my hope is that the listeners can find someone relatable or inspiring. So that's why I love to do these guest episodes.
Great. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and your background in education.
Sure. So I never thought I would be in education. When I was in kindergarten, my mom actually started teaching kindergarten. So I do come from a family of teachers. I enjoyed spending my summers helping her set up her classroom. And it was in August, and there was no such thing as air conditioning in schools, at least on Long Island back then. I remember her really hating the high temperatures. We were putting up the bulletin board paper and stuff, and it didn't really bother me. But so I was used to being in schools, whether as a child of a teacher or a child myself. Fast forward, I did graduate from high school. I planned to major in nursing. I got into nursing, but it really wasn't for me. I got into it and I just wanted to make people smile. However, nurses work really, really hard and there's high demands on them. And it just wasn't for me. I wasn't ever a science person. And I realized through those really tough science courses in college that you really need to know your stuff as a nurse. So I decided it wasn't for me. I dropped out of nursing school. and this made my parents very upset, understandably. They were like, you still need to graduate with your 4-year degree. So I switched majors to something called interdisciplinary studies. I was already majoring in theology because I had a second concentration in my major, so I could spread out those hard nursing classes, the science classes. So I chose for interdisciplinary studies for my second concentration to be psychology. I've always been into the feelings and being in tone with how I feel and whatnot. So my 4-year degree, instead of nursing, ended up being interdisciplinary studies. However, that didn't really set me up for a career after graduating from college. I ended up doing many different jobs that were more administrative or secretarial work, and I found that I was bored. And eventually I found that I'm not someone who can be at a desk for most of the day. I need to do something more dynamic. So, through lots of self exploration and chats with my mentor, I decided to go back to school, to graduate school, and go into school counseling. And I wanted to be the person that I did not have growing up. So, my first job out of grad school, I was a therapeutic foster care case manager. So, I worked with kids who were going through lots of challenges in their families and personally. And then I had my first job in the schools. I was a director of admissions and outreach, and that was with a private school that was all about one-on-one education. And then finally, got my first job as a school counselor in an elementary school in Virginia, and I was there for 4 years. So I moved back home here to New York in July of 2022, and I'm now in my 4th year in New York as a school counselor. So that is my adventure of how I got into education. And I am also, in addition to being a school counselor, I am the director of religious education here at the church that I work at.
And it's yours. Thank you for sharing. I love hearing different backgrounds of how people sometimes are former teachers, sometimes just like psychology background or wanting to or knowing they wanted to do this their whole life. So it's so interesting. I love when people get like an unexpected career pivot.
Yes, for
So are
sure.
you at elementary right now? Just elementary, or is it
So it's
elementary?
actually our school's nursery to 8th grade, but I work with kindergarten to 8th grade. I see it's very unique. I see every class once a week. So I
Wow.
see students for classroom lessons a lot more than many other schools.
Yeah, that's great. So they all know you, I'm sure, and you get
Yes,
to build that
yes, for
relationship.
sure.
Tell us, what do you love about counseling?
Yeah, so I love that I'm able to be that person that I didn't have growing up. Being a school counselor is my purpose, it's my vocation, and just being able to be that person for the kids and teaching them skills and tools that they'll use at any point in their life is very fulfilling for me. SEL wasn't a thing back in the day. We didn't have a school counselor in elementary school, and I don't remember having a tight bond with my school counselor in junior high or high school. I just felt like I was a number. And being someone special that kids can call as their school counselor just is very life fulfilling for me.
I love that. I agree. And what about, I want to talk specifically about individual counseling because you were saying this is one of your strengths. So I would
Yes.
love to know, yeah, strengths, strategies, just anything. Tell us about how you do individual counseling with your students.
Sure. So because I see every child once a week, those classroom lessons are 40 minutes long, and it is a lot of time. However, it's a great opportunity to build rapport with all the students so that when life does happen and they're in need of additional support, we already have that relationship and it feels more natural. I love meeting with students individually to help them with adding tools to their toolboxes, especially for stress and anxiety because life can be very dynamic, as we all know, and just knowing what coping skills can work, then we know what to do when we are feeling those big feelings. And I tell kids all the time, what works for me, what tools work for me might not work for them. So it's all about being very deliberate and trying lots of things to figure out what we can use when we have those big feelings.
Sorry, it cut out for a bit there. Yes, I love the preventative piece of that, a meltdown, but putting in the work. And like you said, I love that you're using your um, class lessons as kind of that like jumping off point to get to know students. And 40 minutes, that's great. You get a lot of time in there.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like in a 30-minute or 20-minute time block, there's just like not enough time to do anything. Let's talk about sourcing your individual counseling. Do you do like referral based or these like drop-in kiddos? How often do you usually meet with kids?
Sure. So I usually meet with kids and I have it all laid out on the permission slip. So parents and I are on the same page. But for 6 weeks, so once a week for 6 weeks for 20 or so minutes. And usually I do a pre-test on the first one and then a post-test on the last one. And I've really gotten my groove so that I can analyze the data. I love that Impact allows you to have all these resources at your fingertips, and that way it lightens the load because especially since I have two jobs where I'm at, I don't exactly have lots of free time. So I love having the access to Impact and all the new
Right.
resources that come up.
Oh, good. Yay. I know. I'm so happy that you're one of our Impact members. And I love you always join our monthly calls, which is great. Such a fun time to connect.
Yeah, I'm grateful that my
So tell us,
schedule
I know every
allows.
day, yes, I know we gotta need to have lunch together. Now I know every day is different, but what would like a typical day in the life look like for you?
Sure, sure. So my answer to this would be different from when I was a full-time elementary school counselor to now. With my two roles working at the church and also the Catholic school, like I said, I work with kids in grades K to 8, kindergarten to 8th grade, and that's Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. But I am available if a child has a critical need or crisis, like on a Monday, and it's all about me trying to support them where they're at. Right now, each class that I teach, it's one class per grade. So we are a small school. And the SEL, we call it SEL for social emotional learning. And those periods are 40 minutes long. So I am able to see kids in addition to classroom lessons individually or a small group. But I must say, at my current school, I don't do a lot of small groups because it needs to be really natural when you put a certain number of kids together. And it's hard to have like the same kids with the same need and the same schedule. So that's why I will often end up doing more individual counseling at my school versus small group. However,
Mhm.
sometimes I will, if I'm going to do like a mini lesson on healthy relationships, I might pull like the middle school small group curriculum and do like a mini lesson at the beginning of a middle school SEL lesson. So I do like to use the resources in different avenues. And again, it breaks it up too, because for 40 minutes, it's nice to be able to do like sections of the class so it doesn't seem like a long time. And I try to keep it engaging for the kids. So when I'm not teaching or counseling, I'm working in my other role here, or I'm planning for classes or sessions or events. I also help supervise lunch and recess, one period on Tuesdays and one period on Wednesdays. And that's a great opportunity again to build relationship with the kids and have an opportunity to practice our social skills that we're learning in SEL and just see them in a natural environment.
I love that. Yes, I love that you're taking advantage of those like supervision times. And so it sounds like your other role is they're on different days, right? So you have some days where you're fully counselor and then some days where you're in the role at the church.
I'm doing both on all
Okay.
days, really. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I thought you were saying on some of the days, like Mondays, you're not doing counseling stuff unless there's an emergency or something.
yeah, well, that's true for Mondays, but on like Tuesdays,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursdays, I'm back and forth.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, you're very busy, two hats. I love it. And I like that reminder that you can use curriculum in different ways. Like you can pull from a small group and use it in a class lesson, or in your class lesson, if you have, the class size, you could do breakout groups and do like little things. I'm always mixing and matching, like using something from an individual with a group, something like that. And that's a good point on groups. Sometimes counselors will tell me like, "Oh, I'm not doing enough groups," but I'm with you. It has to be the right dynamic, and especially at a smaller caseload, you're less likely to have kids who have the similar need and the similar age or schedule or whatever. Whereas like if you're at a huge school, you can save some time by kind of lumping them together. There's likely to be more similar needs because there's just more kids to choose from. So that's a good reminder. For my last question, I always love to ask, what advice would you give a new counselor who's just starting out?
Sure, sure. And that's a great question. So I would advise a school counselor to have a mentor who he or she trusts. I would say also prioritize self-care. We talk about it in grad school, but I feel like it's not discussed enough. Sometimes I even use the terminology of overdosing on self-care, like it's my medicine and it's critical for me so I can do my job most effectively. And I'm known at my school for my diamond art stickers. So if you're not familiar with diamond art, it's basically like a sticky paper and a design, and then it comes with these little colored diamonds. And depending on the number that's on the sticky paper, kind of like color by number, you put that diamond on it. So especially with my first and second graders, I make these diamond art stickers like over the weekend, and then my leaders or my treasure chest winners, if you will get the diamond art stickers and they love it so much. It's really turned into a thing here. So like on the weekends for self-care, I'll make my diamond art stickers and I'll have a show on with my essential oil diffuser. And that's just like my self-care and my wellness. But it's also dual purpose because I'm making prizes for the kiddos. So it's that's been a big thing, especially with the cold weather. It's been even colder than usual here in New York. So making the stickers for the kids has been fun. And I'd also encourage a new counselor to join a some sort of like cohort. Like the fact that we have impact is huge because I don't have the community, if you will, with other counselors in my unique role in the school that I'm at right now. So having the community of impact and having all the resources at my fingertips really makes my life and my job a whole lot more doable. And it helps me with my schedule, which is quite full. So, and I'm super thankful that I can be on the community meetups each month because just having the sounding board and meeting with you, it's really a wonderful opportunity.
Oh, thank you for the kind words, Colleen. Yes, I'm so glad to hear that. That was truly my intention when creating Impact was that it can be so isolating. I know at every school I worked at, I was the only counselor. So, and when I was at the public school, we had like monthly counselor meetings, and I looked forward to those because we would do like case studies and like sit at the table. So I kind of try to model our calls after that. But then at the private school I was at, I was the only one. So it was so nice to have yeah, someone to sound ideas off of and talk to or vent or get inspired or whatever you need. So I'm so glad you're finding it helpful.
Thank you so much
Well,
for
thank
everything
you
that you
so
do.
much. Oh, thank you, Colleen. And thank you for coming on. It's so great to learn from you and to get ideas. I love the reminder about self-care as well. I'm with you. I think it's something we kind of forget to do. And that I like that yours is even productive self-care. It was like
Yes,
dual purpose
yes.
to help the kids too. So great. Well, thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you. Have a great day, Rachel.
I hope you loved Colleen's episode and learned so much from her. I know I sure did. Just a reminder again, today and tomorrow is my training. If you're listening to this after today's training has ended, no worries. You can still sign up for tomorrow. It is not too late. Go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/individual. And in this individual counseling training, I'm going to be sharing some really hands-on, handheld takeaways that you can use right away with your kiddos. So it's very practical of the trainings that I do. You're going to walk away with something you can literally use today. So, and you'll walk away with a PD certificate and a free individual curriculum. Again, you can save your seat at stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/individual. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.